Hello and good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Promort Field at Bernlohr Stadium. This is an abbreviated version of the Crusaders pregame show, getting you set for today's men's lacrosse match between two longtime rivals within the Ohio Athletic Conference. The Capital Crusaders playing host to the Cardinals of Otterbein this afternoon. Hello again, everyone. I'm Charlie Danis. So glad that we could have you along for the ride on this rather chilly Saturday afternoon from here on the campus of Capital University. Capital suffered a very rough month of March. 4 losses in total for the Crusaders last month. A 9-8 loss at Huntington. That was followed by a 12-11 loss against Worcester. That was back on March the 8th. They got beat pretty good by Wittenberg 13-5 back on the 20th, and then they culminated the month with yet another frustrating loss, this time at the hands of John Carroll. They fell to the Blue Streaks 9-8. Let's take a look at what happened in that last game against John Carroll. John Carroll, they had a 3-goal lead with a little over 6 minutes to go in the game, but Capital was able to rally and make this a much closer ball game, at least on the scoreboard. Unfortunately for them, they fell 1 goal short of tying it, therefore giving the victory to John Carroll, the defending champs within the OAC, by the way. With that loss, Capital dropped to 2-4 overall and 0-1 within OAC play. I think it's safe to say that head coach Don Marzano and his team are happy that the month of April has rolled around. This will allow Capital to start off fresh and perhaps start to put together a little bit of a win streak here as we get into the latter stages of the conference schedule. Let's now take a look at the standings around the OAC. There is still a lot of lacrosse left to play, so fret not, Crusader fans. This can still be a successful year for the purple and white. So far, the standings within the OAC look like this. Baldwin-Wallace, Mount Union, John Carroll, and Otterbein are all 1-0 within conference play. Ohio Northern has yet to play a game within OAC play, so for right now their conference record is 0-0. And then finally Muskingum, Capital, Heidelberg, and Wilmington, they are all 0-1 within conference play to begin the conference season. Baldwin-Wallace, by the way, the best record of any of those schools overall. They are 6-1. Mount Union, they are 5-2. Everybody else, well, let's see here. Ohio Northern is 5-3. Everybody else is either 500, like John Carroll, who's 3-3, or below 500. So, at the start of the season, it looks as though that Baldwin-Wallace has gotten off to a very nice start with Mount Union right behind them. Capital with an opportunity, however, to get that first conference win today, but more importantly, get back on the winning side of things. As I mentioned, the month of March was rather rough for the Crusaders, with those 4 losses to some really good programs. Worcester, that's a program that you shouldn't take lightly. And, of course, John Carroll, the defending champs within the OAC, goes without saying that they will be a threat to repeat this year here in 2017. I want to talk about a couple players that have stood out for Capital so far. No surprise here, Brennan O'Callahan has been the top attacker for Capital this season. In 6 games played this year, he has tallied 18 goals and 5 assists, good for 23 points on the season. He came on like gangbusters last year, and heading into this year, another big year is expected from Mr. O'Callahan. Maybe a little bit of a slow start compared to his previous stats, but hopefully he can turn it on as we begin the month of April today. C.J. Hughes, meanwhile, this is a freshman, a young guy that has recently come into the Capital program, and his play has been nothing short of remarkable. 17 goals in 6 games played, also has 3 assists on the year, good for 20 points. And Ryan Rampy, he's also been a quality contributor as well for Capital. He's got 12 goals and 8 assists, good for 20 points. Some other guys that have really stood out for Capital so far, Carson Paul, been doing a little bit of everything with 6 goals and 6 assists. And Brent Walton, 8 goals, 7 assists for 15 points. He provides some really good depth at that attacker spot. Obviously, Brennan O'Callahan, C.J. Hughes, they have eaten up a lot of the minutes this year for Capital, but it's always nice to have a tremendous athlete like Brent Walton, former football player here at Capital, a guy that you can count upon to come off the sidelines and provide you some quality minutes at that attacker position. I want to talk about the goaltender situation for Capital. If you really think about it, Cole Palmby has had a really solid year in net for the Crusaders. He has a goal against average of 10 points. Oftentimes, whether it's a sport like lacrosse or a sport like soccer, you want your goalkeeper at the very least to have the ability to keep you in games. And that is what Palmby has done. Despite those 4 losses in March, with the exception of the blowout loss to Wittenberg, Capital was in all of those games. Though 3 of those 4 games within the month of March really could have gone either way. I know that it was very frustrating for Capital in their last game, in particular against John Carroll, in which they fell a goal short. But Palmby has done a rather remarkable job. There have been games where Capital's defense has been struggling a little bit, maybe a little leaky, and hopefully they get those problems fixed within the month of April. But to this point, Cole Palmby has done a fantastic job in net. He will allow a couple easy goals here and there so far, but as I was told earlier today, he's the type of goalie that is able to make 3 or 4 stops per game that he really shouldn't have any business making. He's been a big asset to the Crusaders this year, and hopefully he'll come up big today against Otterbein. Let's talk about the Cardinals a little bit. We've talked about how Capital has gotten off to a slow start this year with a 2-4 overall record and an 0-1 record within conference play. Same can be said for Otterbein. They are 3-6 overall. They are 1-0 in conference play. We'll get to that win in just a moment. The Cardinals started off with 2 losses on the season, losses to Ohio Wesleyan on the road and a home loss to Wittenberg, rebounded with a win over Birmingham Southern, but then followed up that win with 2 more losses, both of them on the road, one at Barry and another one at Albion. The next time they took the field, that was March 15th, Washington Jefferson. That was a win over Washington Jefferson by a final of 19-13, a loss to Kenyon, and then a win at Heidelberg. And boy, did they dominate Heidelberg that game. 25-4 was the final count in that game. And after that, a loss to Worcester, 12-9 at the College of Worcester back on March the 29th. So it's kind of been an up-and-down season for Otterbein so far. Just when you think the Cardinals are piecing together a win streak, they kind of take a step backwards. These are 2 teams in both Capital and Otterbein that want to start to gain momentum a little bit here as we begin the month of April. I can't believe that the month of March is already over, but that's what happens with the calendar sometimes. Time flies when you're having fun. Both teams are on the field. Both teams are actually on their respective sidelines going over final preparation for the game today. Capital will be sporting their gray jerseys and gray shorts, along with, let's see here, white numbers and lettering on the front outlined by purple. A couple of snazzy uniforms, if you ask me, for the Crusaders. Meanwhile, Otterbein in their customary red jerseys and red shorts. They have white numbers outlined by gold and yellow, it looks like, and white helmets. The helmets for Capital, by the way, are also gray as well. It's a rather cold day here in Bexley. The wind is whipping around at Vermont Field at Bernlohr Stadium. Cloudy skies as well. We have been treated to some really warm weather in recent weeks here in the Columbus area, but today, not so much. The high will be around 45 degrees or so, although it feels like the mid-30s around here, if you ask me. Luckily, I'm in the comforts of a very warm press box. So the teams out there, they're going to have to brave a little bit of the elements. Thank goodness we are not going to be dealing with any rain or snow for that matter. Yes, and that does happen in Ohio. It does snow from time to time here in April. It looks like it's just going to be a cold day here in Bexley, but we should be treated to a good one. Both teams, Capital and Otterbein, looking to gain momentum, build some momentum here in the beginning stages of the month of April as they try to challenge John Carroll and other all-comers in the OAC for the title. We will take a quick break. When we come back, we will have starting lineups and Also, the start of our game. Otterbein and Capital coming up next here on the Capital Sports Network. Welcome back to Permort Field at Bernlohr Stadium, getting you set for today's presentation of men's lacrosse here on the Capital Sports Network. I'm Charlie Danis. Let's get to the starting lineups for both teams. First, starting with the visitors, the Cardinals of Otterbein University, the longtime rivals of the Crusaders. Starting in goal today for the Cardinals will be a senior from Worthington, Ohio, number 21, James Gunling. Here's how the rest of the starting lineup will look for Otterbein. At midfield will be the senior from Lebanon, Ohio, number 2, Ryan Gombita. Also at midfield will be the sophomore from Delaware, Ohio, number 4, Joe Sanfilippo. At defender will be the senior from Dublin, Ohio, number 6, Matt Isley. At attacker will be the senior from Hilliard, Ohio, number 8, Nick Tholt. Also at attacker for the Cardinals today will be number 15, Jake Grunley, a sophomore out of Pickerington, Ohio. At defender will be number 16, Mike Davidson. He's a junior out of Westfield, Indiana. Another defender for the Cardinals today will be number 17, Adam Grumman. Grumman, a sophomore out of Pickerington, Ohio. At the midfield spot will be number 30, Mike Brendel. He's a freshman out of New Albany, Ohio. And rounding out the starting lineup for the Cardinals today will be number 38. That would be Connor Jevitt. Connor Jevitt, he's a junior out of Clarkston, Michigan, and leading scorer for the Cardinals. He's got 24 goals on the season, also 6 assists, good for 30 points on the 2017 campaign so far. Now the starting lineup for Capital today. Cole Palmby will be in goal. Palmby, a junior out of Delaware, Ohio. Danny David will be at the midfield spot. He's a senior out of Massillon, Ohio. Brennan O'Callahan, the junior out of Westchester, Ohio, will be out there at attacker. Tate Dover is one of the defenders. Nick Bonsignor from Auburn Township, Ohio. He'll be out there for the Crusaders. We're underway here at Bernlohr Stadium, by the way. And then rounding out the starting lineup, Tyler Faig at midfielder. Christopher Yeager will be out there for the Crusaders, as well as Connor Ryan at defender. C.J. Hughes, one of the attackers. He's been very impressive here his freshman year. And Ryan Rampy, sophomore out of Hilliard, Ohio. Head coach of the Crusaders in his first year is Dom Marzano. Head coach for the Cardinals, that's Colin Hartnett. He's in his 8th season at the helm at Otterbein. So we're just underway here at Bernlohr Stadium. And Capital will begin with the ball, taking it across midfield. For the Crusaders will be Danny Davide. Capital wearing their gray uniforms today. Otterbein with their customary red uniforms. Doesn't matter what the sport is. This has been a long contested rivalry between these two schools, who about a half an hour away or so here in the Columbus area. Capital located in Bexley. Otterbein located in the suburb of Westerville. Shot on goal, and it's just to the right of the goal. Shot attempt by Carson Paul that time for Capital. And Capital will maintain possession. So the Crusaders might have another shot here offensively. Ryan Rampy. He'll go behind the net now. He'll go out towards the perimeter as Capital will reset here. Capital going from right to left, left to right in order to score, excuse me. Otterbein going from right to left in order to score to start the game. Just underway here in Bexley, still scoreless between Capital and Otterbein. Two teams that haven't gotten off to the greatest of starts. If you look at both of their overall records, Capital 2-4 overall, Otterbein 3-6. And a nice start for Capital. Crusaders get on the board thanks to Carson Paul, the junior from Sandpoint, Idaho. So the Idaho native Paul gets Capital on the board first today. 7th goal of the 2017 campaign. Just like that, a 1-0 lead for Capital, and that's what the Crusaders need. Instant offense. That's what they've gotten so far, thanks to Paul. So 1-0 lead for Capital with 13:38 remaining in the first quarter. Tremendous goal by Paul that time as he just whipped that past everybody. And more importantly, got it past James Gunling. He is the starting goaltender for the Cardinals today. And Gunling, he's played in 8 games. Coming into today, had a goals against average of 12.51. Cardinals have gone through a total of 4 goaltenders this year. Gunling tied with Connor Hinson in terms of most games played. Both of them have participated in 8 games this year for the Cardinals. 1-0 lead for Capital thanks to a goal by Carson Paul. And now Capital will look to add to this lead as they have come away with possession here. Out there for Capital, Brent Walton. He is near the near sideline. Now back out towards midfield over to Teddy Kreitz. Kreitz, a junior out of Waukee, Iowa. Going behind the net, Carter McCormick. McCormick to the middle. Loose ball. Who's going to get it? Capital trying to get back possession. It's still on the ground. There's still a scrum for it. And now a whistle, and they will give it to Otterbein. Turnovers are going to be important in this game. That's kind of been a little bit of a bugaboo here for Capital this season. You don't want to give away possessions when you have a chance to score and then have the momentum go back to your opponent, especially to a team like Otterbein, who is wanting to improve upon already their 1-0 start within conference play. Capital 0-1. Their only conference loss coming to John Carroll last Saturday. 9-8 defeat at the hands of the Blue Streaks. That is way over the net. And Sanfilippo was trying to get that one in when it goes over everybody's head. Palmby in goal. Cole Palmby, that is, for the Crusaders today. And Palmby's able to fend that one off. A little bit of a wraparound move there for Otterbein. Otterbein still maintaining possession, however, as Nick Tholt will give off to a teammate. Now it's back in front to Sanfilippo. Sanfilippo will now flip it over to Gambita. Gambita, Sanfilippo, two of their main attackers, as that will be to the right of the goal. But the guy to look out for today, especially if you are a Capital defender, is Connor Jevitt. Jevitt with 24 goals on the season, by far the best offensive threat on this Otterbein squad. It's going to be imperative for Capital to keep their eyes open and to keep Jevitt in front of them, because he can light up any defense when given the opportunity. 1-0 lead for Capital. 11:10 remaining in the first quarter. Turnover for Otterbein now as Capital comes away with it. So now what will the Crusaders do here on this particular possession? So far in this game, Otterbein has outshot Capital 3-2. Capital a perfect 2 of 2 on face-offs. Otterbein, as you might have guessed, 0 of 2 on the face-offs so far. Shot right of the goal. Capital still maintaining possession, however. Brennan O'Callahan. He will toss it out front as Capital will now reset offensively. Barrett Noggle, sophomore out of Champion, Pennsylvania. Sounds like a winner to me. Carson Paul. Now they go behind the net. Capital looking for a front of the net opportunity, but they will continue to circle around that Otterbein goal. Trying to make James Gunling a little nervous here as Capital looking for a shot on goal, and boy, Gunling did a very nice job. It was C.J. Hughes that wound up for the shot, but Gunling was able to handle that opportunity. And now Otterbein coming the other way here. 1-0 lead for Capital. 9:46 remaining in the first quarter here at Bernlohr Stadium. Rather cold day. I'm not gonna say dreary by any means here in Bexley because it isn't raining, and for goodness sakes, it isn't snowing. Things could be a lot worse weather-wise. And boy, there was a lot of tugging and pushing and all that stuff. And now a timeout is going to be taken by Otterbein. We will step aside momentarily. 9.5 minutes to go in our first quarter of play. It is Capital 1, Otterbein nothing. Back here at Bernlohr Stadium. It's a 1-0 lead for Capital with 9.5 to play in our first quarter. This is men's lacrosse here on the Capital Sports Network. I'm Charlie Danis coming to you live from Bexley, Ohio, right here on the campus of Capital University. Both teams have returned to the field. The only goal scored today by Carson Paul of Capital, his 7th goal of the season. And that has been our only tally to this point. Otterbein looking to change this as they go on the offensive attack. Nick Tholt on the far side. As Otterbein trying to get something going. Ball batted up in the air, and Capital comes away with a turnover. Nice job defensively by Capital as they were able to jar the ball loose. And now they can go on the offensive attack. Looking to add to a 1-0 lead over Otterbein. 8:50 remaining in our first quarter. Capital right now just taking their dear sweet time as they're just trying to get it across midfield successfully. Loose ball. Capital able to get it back, however. Sprinting ahead for Capital will be Christopher Yeager. And now a whole bunch of whistles. They're going to give it back to Otterbein. Looks like it was some sort of offsides penalty. So Otterbein back with the ball. Ryan Gombita. He's a senior out of Lebanon, Ohio. In the southwest quadrant of the state of Ohio. That's where it's located. Passing back out to San Filippo. Now with Mike Brendel. Brendel, far side of the field. Now he'll back out a little closer to midfield. Trying to go over his options offensively here for Otterbein. Otterbein playing it close to the vest here on this particular offensive possession. As Capital right now doing a nice job of denying them a middle pass that could result in a shot opportunity. penetration has been not a friend of Otterbein here in the early going. And now Capital comes away with a loose ball here. There's a little bit of a rush opportunity. It's thrown in, and it's a goal, and a flag has been thrown as well. My, oh my, what a rush that was for Brennan O'Callahan, the junior out of Westchester, Ohio. Bowled his way to the goal and said, I'm not going to be stopped. I'm scoring a goal for the Crusaders. How about that? O'Callahan coming through for the Crusaders. 2-0 lead for Capital. It flashes up on the scoreboard. Great play. And indeed, it was a great play. That is a great example of what O'Callahan brings to the table offensively. Once he gets going up the field and combines that speed with that electric shot of his, it's no wonder he is one of the premier attackers in the Ohio Athletic Conference. So a very good start for Capital here to begin the afternoon. A 2-0 lead for the Crusaders with 7:23 remaining in the first quarter. Scrum for the loose ball at midfield. Otterbein is able to come up with it. And now the Cardinals have to find a response here offensively. Meanwhile, Capital looking to keep that great defensive intensity going. Approaching 7 minutes to play. Capital 2, Otterbein nothing. No rain is in the forecast, by the way, so it will be cold outside, but looks like Mother Nature will not be getting in the way of things here in Bexley this afternoon. Although that flag is really whipping to my right. Oh, glory. And, boy, there was a lot of contact there. I think there might be a penalty, and there will be, I think, against Capital. 1, 2, 3 flags are flown onto the field as the penalty looks like it's going to go against Tate Stover. Stover, a senior defender for the Crusaders, hails from Delaware, Ohio, went to Olentangy High School here in the Central Ohio area. He's going to be called for a roughing penalty. It looked as though his stick hit the helmet of an Otterbein player, if I remember correctly. So now Otterbein will go on the offensive here with an extra man. Let's see if Capital's defense can rise to the occasion here and try to thwart another Otterbein offensive opportunity. As it stands right now, it's a 2-0 lead for Capital with 6:37 left to go in the first quarter. To this point, the only goals that have been scored today have been because of Carson Paul and Brennan O'Callahan. Paul with his 7th goal of the year. Meanwhile, O'Callahan tallying his 19th goal of the 2017 campaign. So here's Otterbein with an extra man advantage after the penalty. They're trying to circle around. Capital trying to collapse the middle. Trying to keep everything on the perimeter for right now as Otterbein circling now in a clockwise formation around that Capital goal. Jake Grundy will go to the top, goes inside, and Otterbein comes away with a goal. Quick pass on the inside, and then a quick shot on the goal, and that leads to the first goal of the afternoon for the Cardinals. Ryan Gombita, the Lebanon, Ohio native. Yes, the Cardinals on the board. Gombita with that goal raises his goal total here in 2017 to 9. So now it's a 2-1 lead for Capital with 5:51 remaining in the first quarter. The assist on the play given to Joe Sanfilippo. So now what can Capital do as a response now that Otterbein has gone on the board for the first time today? Scrum for the loose ball. It's finally picked up by Capital, but they give it to Otterbein. Another turnover for Capital here. Ground balls, 4 for Capital, 1 for Otterbein. Capital's outshot Otterbein 5-4 so far in this game. Capital now 3 of 4 on faceoffs. 2 clears for Otterbein, 1 clear for Capital. And both teams have 3 turnovers so far this afternoon. As we approach the 5-minute mark in the first quarter, It's Capital 2, Otterbein 1. Cardinals back with the ball. This has all the makings of a defensive scrum, too, because both teams so far have like to work the ball around the perimeter before going into the middle and trying for some offensive opportunities. Both teams are slow and deliberate with their offensive attack. Loose ball. And is it Otterbein that picks it up? Yes, it is. Ball was jarred loose that time. Boy, I tell you what, sometimes you can see some big-time collisions in the lacrosse game. Whip to the goal, and the shot is missed by Jake Grundy. And now Capital gets back possession after the shot attempt by Grundy. 2-1 lead for Capital. Approaching 4.5 to play in our first quarter. As the wind continues to pick up here a little bit at Bernlohr Stadium. Capital attempting to get it across midfield, and they do so successfully. Thanks to number 23, Tate Stover. Shot to the goal. Capital will maintain possession after the miss. Wrap around. No good. Another shot, this time by C.J. Hughes. That'll go to the right of the goal. Capital still maintains possession. It's after a miss. It's whoever's player is closer to the ball, heading to that back netting behind goal, that gets possession. And Capital so far has done a nice job of staying alert on those shot attempts and creating more and more offensive opportunities. Shot attempt hit off a stick, then another shot attempt. Carson Paul trying to make a bid for his second goal of the day. His first shot was blocked by the stick of an Otterbein player, and then his second shot was turned away by the Otterbein goalkeeper, James Gunling. Tough break for Paul right there, who already has a goal today, 7th of the season. 2-1 lead for Capital. 3.5 to play in our first quarter. So far, it's been a nip and tuck defensive affair between these longtime rivals of the OAC. Otterbein already 1-0 within OAC play. Capital, meanwhile, 0-1. Capital would like to right the ship here. A rough march for the Crusaders as the shot fended off by Palmby. Nice play by Cole Palmby that time. Now here comes Capital the other way. Leading the charge, Connor Ryan. Timeout will now be taken by Capital. 2:47 left to play in our first quarter. Capital 2, Otterbein 1. You're listening to Men's Lacrosse here on the Capital Sports Network. Welcome back to Bernlohr Stadium. Our score here in Bexley, Ohio, Capital 2, Otterbein 1. First quarter action here from Bernlohr so far. Speaking of scores, a couple other games being played in the OAC this afternoon. On the men's lacrosse side, Baldwin-Wallace is leading Wilmington 1-0 with a little over 6 minutes to play in the first quarter. 4:13 left to play in the first quarter at Mount Union. Purple Raiders trailing Ohio Northern 3-1 in that ball game. 2:45 remaining in the first quarter of our game. Again, Capital leading Otterbein 2-1. The 2 goals for Capital scored by Carson Paul. That was scored with 13:38 remaining in the first quarter. That was followed up by a goal by Brennan O'Callahan. Bull rush of a goal, if you ask me. As that one will go wide of the net. Now a loose ball. Capital still maintaining possession. O'Callahan, meanwhile, getting his 19th goal of the year at the 7:23 mark of the first quarter. And then it was Ryan Gambita on a one-man advantage. He was able to get Otterbein on the board thanks to a lovely assist by Joe Sanfilippo, at 5:51. So that's all the scoring that has taken place between both of these teams so far. Capital has outshot Otterbein 10-6 so far. As Capital looking to get something going offensively on this particular possession following the timeout. Capital will now go back out towards midfield. Barrett Noggle rushes in, fended away by the Otterbein goalkeeper Gunling. Capital able to get back a loose ball, however. Maintain possession. Shot on goal, and boy, was it whipped in there. Somehow, Gunling was able to fend it off. But Capital still with possession. They are definitely making Gunling sweat a little bit on this particular juncture. Minute 8 remaining in the first quarter. Capital 2, Otterbein 1. It's whipped in, and it's past Gunling. Another goal for the Crusaders. Teddy Kreitz, junior out of Waukee, Iowa, with his first goal of the afternoon. That was only the second goal of the season for Teddy Kreitz. Increases the Capital lead to 3-1 with 1:03 remaining in our first quarter. It was a nice bounce back for Capital there. You felt like the momentum had swung the way of Otterbein after that goal. Flag on the play with 1 minute remaining. So there will be a penalty coming up here, but for right now, they're going to let Otterbein play through it. Cardinals will swing it around. It'll be in the possession of Chandler Swartz. Swartz will go behind the net. Swartz with the wraparound move, and he's able to get it past Palmby. That cuts the Capital lead to 1. It's now a 3-2 game. 34.8 seconds remain in the first quarter. Boy, the scoring has certainly picked up here within the last minute or so. Meanwhile, it looks like the penalty will go against Capital. Penalty will go against Nick Bonsignor. It'll be a 1 minute penalty. So for about a minute or so, Otterbein will have a man advantage. Scrum for the loose ball at midfield. Capital able to come away with possession. And that's big right there, because Otterbein might have had a man advantage offensively. Could have really gotten back into this ballgame before the end of the first quarter. Speaking of the end of the first quarter, rapidly approaching with 15 seconds and counting. There's a loose ball. Somebody lost their stick. On the Otterbein side, Otterbein gets the ball back. 5 seconds. And it looks like the Cardinals will just be content with just running out the clock as James Gunling will just run around a little bit. And at the end of the first quarter here at Bernlohr Stadium, it is Capital 3, Otterbein 2. Come on back for the second quarter of action here at Bernlohr Stadium. This is Men's Lacrosse here on the Capital Sports Network. Back here at Bernlohr Stadium. A score of 3-2 in favor of Capital over Otterbein after our first quarter of play as we get set to begin second quarter action here in Bexley. So far, Capital has outshot Otterbein 14-7. 3 saves have been made by Otterbein goalkeeper James Gunley. Ground balls, Capital has 11. Otterbein has 5. Capital has been more successful on face-offs in this game so far, taking 4 of 6. Otterbein only 2 of 6 in that particular category. And both teams have 4 turnovers. Capital, meanwhile, has been hit with 2 penalties for a grand total of 2 minutes. Those are some of the basic stats that you need to know from this game. In terms of the scoring so far in this matchup, Capital got on the board first with a goal by Carson Paul. That was followed up by Brandon O'Callahan. But then Otterbein came back with a goal of their own from Ryan Gambita. Capital with another goal, this time from Ted Kreitz, his second of the season. And then Chandler Swartz making it a 1-goal game once again, coming with 34 seconds remaining in the first quarter. So now both teams back on the field. Otterbein now going from left to right in order to score. Capital going from right to left in order to score in this quarter. And a flag has been thrown out near the 40-yard line. It'll be interesting to see what the penalty is going to be here in mere moments. But for right now, they play on. Purple and white versus the red and gold for Otterbein. 2 teams that are a mere 30 minutes away from each other. As we mentioned at the top of the broadcast, Capital located here in Bexley. Otterbein located in Westerville. A true crosstown rivalry that has been around for generations and generations. Rivalry games are always very, very fun. Doesn't matter what the sport is. Key to rivalry games, however, is which team does the best job of keeping the emotions in check and focusing on the task at hand. The task at hand for both these teams, just trying to better themselves as we begin the latter stages of conference play. Cole Palmby will come back in for Capital in goal. Making that tremendous save for Capital was T.J. Johnson. He was a sophomore out of Champlin, Minnesota. Went to Champlin Park High School. Champlin Park, if I read correctly, recently lost to Apple Valley in the Class 4A state championship game in boys basketball. Champlin Park with a couple of Division I prospects on their team, as now 2 of our referees are conferring with one another as to what the penalty is going to be here. I know their power forward for Champlin Park, Theo John, he's expected to go to Marquette. Their point guard, McKinley Wright, had originally committed to play at Dayton here in Ohio, but because of Archie Miller taking the job at Indiana, his recruitment's up and the way. Champlin Park has always been known for its really solid athletics. Look no further than their basketball squad as just an example. There's still a discussion going on between our referees, and looks like they are now talking with Otterbein head coach Colin Hartnett in his 8th season at the helm for Otterbein. And apparently they have picked up the flag. No penalty on the play, it seems like. Much to do about nothing in the end. Cole Palmby back in there. Don't know why Coach Marzano didn't have Palmby out there to start the second quarter. Maybe Palmby was working on an injury or something like that. But the main thing is Cole is back out there and ready to go. And speaking of Palmby, he's out towards midfield almost, looking to pass it away. He better get rid of it, and he does successfully. Guess it's a Sawyer Mack, looks like. And now Capital look for another offensive opportunity. Somebody lost their stick, and the ball was wedged in there. I wonder how they're going to call this one. They're going to give it to Otterbein. Oh, my goodness. How about that? The stick was knocked out of the hand of a Capital player, And the ball will be given back to Otterbein. The ball stuck there in the stick. That's a good stick right there. Must have very tight netting on that stick. That is for sure. So now Otterbein, after that weird sequence of events, they will have the ball back. They trail Capital 3-2. 12:18 left to play in our second quarter. Substitute for Capital comes onto the field. Mike Trefethern comes onto the field for the Crusaders. Otterbein being deliberate here to begin this offensive possession as Mike Brendel will now rush up the field. Brendel with a shot wide left of the goal. Otterbein still maintaining possession, however. And the pass is intercepted by Capital. What a great read by Danny Davide. And that'll be wide right. As Capital was trying to promote a rush opportunity right there. Shot on goal, by the way, was by C.J. Hughes. He hasn't gotten a goal yet today, but he has been very active. Hughes, talked about him in the pregame show for a little bit. Hughes with 17 goals on the season. He has been very impressive to begin his Capital career. And a goal for Capital. Sneaks in between the legs of James Gunling. And the Crusaders are able to capitalize. Second goal of the afternoon for Brennan O'Callahan. Gives him an even 20 goals on the 2017 season. Brenton Walton will be given an assist on the play, credited with an assist. So now it's a 4-2 ball game in favor of Capital. 11-12 remaining in the second quarter. I've liked what I've seen from the Capital offense so far. They've outshot Otterbein 16-10. They've been getting good penetration up the middle against the Cardinals today, which has obviously led to some really good shot attempts. 4 goals on the afternoon so far for Capital. They're going to give it to, let's see here. They're going to give it to Otterbein after the scrum at midfield. So a 4-2 game in favor of Capital. They got the lead over the Cardinals. 11 minutes left to play in our first half. Mike Brendel passing it over. Now it's over to Connor Jevitt, who's had a very quiet afternoon so far. 24 goals on the season. And Jevitt, let's see here, so far on the day, only with 1 shot. Kind of surprising at this point. You would have thought that you would want to get your top goal scorer going here in the early going, but Jevitt so far with a very quiet beginning to this afternoon's game. Quick shot, and that will go to the right of the goal. Otterbein still maintaining possession, however. Jevitt, actually, wait a second, loose ball. Tholt lost it, and Tholt is going to lose it. Picking it up was Connor Ryan. Boy, Otterbein has been really sloppy with their possession. Speaking of being sloppy, this ball is going to bounce all the way out of bounds as Capital was not able to hook up on the long pass down the far sideline. So, just as I say that, Otterbein gets the ball right back. Long toss, good over to Anthony Spingola, junior midfielder out of Chicago. So now Otterbein right back at it offensively, trailing Capital 4-2, 9:40 left to play in the second quarter. Otterbein working it around the perimeter. Trying to wind up for a shot. Bouncer Wide left of the net, and then Otterbein is able to redirect it and get it into the back of the goal. Connor Jevitt with his first goal of the afternoon. Junior out of Clarkston, Michigan. And now there's a flag that has been thrown down onto the field. Going to have to see what the penalty is going to be on this. They are going to count the goal, it looks like. So a 4-2 lead for Capital, 9:23 left to play in the second quarter. Or 4-3 lead, excuse me. Ball is placed at midfield. As these two teams, these two traditional rivals, continue to go at it on the turf of Bernlohr Stadium. Boy, oh boy, being harassed was Justin McKee. He had to fend off a couple of Capital defenders, and boy, McKee even took a shot. 39-on-39 action as Christopher Yeager was able to deliver the blow with his right shoulder. Now a flag has been thrown just to the right of the Capital goal. This will be a delayed penalty. Otterbein will work through it. 4-3 lead for Capital. 8:45 remained in the second quarter. I've been noticing during the Otterbein offensive possessions, they're very deliberate to begin, but man, do they snap to attention and then try to attack you up the middle very quickly. Ball will now be awarded. Well, let's see here. There's a little confusion on the field. Looks like Don Marzano is not too happy about that call. So Otterbein will have a man advantage here. Last time they had a man advantage in this particular type of situation, they were able to score a goal. Capital clinging to a 4-3 lead over Otterbein. A shot and a goal for Otterbein. We got ourselves a tie ball game. For the second time today, Otterbein able to capitalize on a man advantage after a penalty on Capital. So now a 4-4 game, 8:13 remaining in our first half. Anthony Spingola with the goal for Otterbein. Boy, now all of a sudden, if you're Capital, you feel the momentum swinging back to the Cardinals. This has all the trappings of a nip-and-tuck defensive game between both of these teams. I mentioned that March was a very rough month for Capital. Aside from a 14-5 loss to Wittenberg, all their losses in March for the Crusaders, they were close ball games. They were games that really could have gone either way. Once you look back at 9-8 loss to Huntington College in overtime, 12-11 loss to Worcester, and a 9-8 loss that came recently last Saturday at the hands of John Carroll. Turnover for Otterbein. Capital looking to recapture that momentum that they have possessed really for a lot of the time so far this afternoon. Capital outshooting Otterbein 16-11. It's a tied game. Trying to recapture the lead was Capital, but the shot by Carson Paul misses. Capital still with possession. Bringing it back out to the field is Ryan Rampy. He's behind the net of the Cardinals. Rampy back out in front. Quick shot. That's no good for Carter McCormick. And now Otterbein back with possession. 4-4 game between Capital and Otterbein. 6:59 remaining in our first half. Cardinals looking for their first lead of the ball game. They have yet to lead in this affair at Bernlohr Stadium. Meanwhile, Capital trying to recapture that momentum. But first, it will have to start at the defensive end. Weaving his way through the Capital defense was Justin McKee. Now there's a loose ball, and Capital comes away with possession. This might be the break that Capital needs here in this situation. Shot, and it's to the left of the goal. And now a timeout's going to be taken by Otterbein. We will step aside as well. We got 6 minutes and 10 seconds remaining in our first half, and we're all knotted up 4-4 between Capital and Otterbein here in your home for Crusaders Men's Lacrosse, the Capital Sports Network. Back here at Bernlohr Stadium. 6 minutes and 10 seconds remain in our first half. Capital and Otterbein, we are knotted at 4. Capital had a 3-2 lead after the first quarter. But since then, Otterbein has outscored them 2-1 so far in this second quarter of play. Brent Walton is back out there for Capital. Gets it over. Already has a goal in this game. Kreitz sneaking forward. Goes over the top of the goal, but no shot attempt for Capital that time. Back over to Kreitz. Kreitz behind the Otterbein goal, trying a wraparound goal, but that one was no good. Capital still maintaining possession, however. Ryan Rampy will bring it out for the Crusaders. He's still behind the net. Thought about going to his left, now to his right. Pass back out to C.J. Hughes. They'll now go all the way back out to Walton. Walton will try to rush in, but met by a slew of Otterbein defenders. Trying to drop it off in the middle. Scrum for the ball. Finally picked up by Otterbein goalkeeper James Gunling, who has played pretty well in that Otterbein goal. Let up a couple of easy ones for the Cardinals so far this afternoon, in the early parts of this afternoon, but he has seemed to have calmed down. Both goalkeepers, really. Gunling for Otterbein, and for Capital, Cole Palmby, who made a nice save on that play. So now Capital back with possession here. Under 4.5 to play in our first half. A 4-4 game between Capital and Otterbein. Pass over the middle, shot, and it's to the left of the goal. Capital gets back possession. They'll get another shot here. Coming into the game, by the way, for Capital is Jeff Simmons. He's a senior midfielder out of Lewis Center, Ohio. Went to Olentangy High School. Previously had gone to Manhattan College before coming to Capital. Kreitz with another near goal that time. Still a loose ball, and it's eventually picked up by Gunling. Gunling will now feather it across the field. Over to Sanfilippo. Sanfilippo will go back out to Gambita. Gambita over the middle. And another goal for Otterbein. The Cardinals have now grabbed their first lead of the game. Jake Grundy, sophomore out of Pickerington, Ohio, went to Pickerington North High School here in the Central Ohio region. His goal has given the Cardinals their first lead of the afternoon. It's now Otterbein 5, Capital 4, 3:35 left to play in our first half. Boy, it has been quite the change for the Cardinals here in this second quarter. First quarter, Otterbein had a very tough time keeping possession of the ball, let alone getting scoring opportunities on Capital's defense. This time, their possession has been much better. And now, as the ball goes out of bounds, they're going to give it to Otterbein once again. So now the Cardinals, they'll have another opportunity to add to this lead. Sanfilippo stands at about the 40-yard line. They still have the numerals of the football field down there, although this is a multi-purpose field. Still has the soccer lines, also, of course, has the lacrosse lines, helping us out with today's game. Passed along the perimeter to Gambita. Gambita, near side of the field. He'll rush in. And now Otterbein will circle the ball behind the Capital goal. Back out to Sanfilippo. Sanfilippo stands at about the 30-yard line now, still going over his options. Thought about passing it to his teammate Gambita, but thought the better of it. There's a lot of space within the middle of the Capital defense, but not a lot of red jerseys. Trying to fight his way, and the shot is fended off. Nice job by Cole Palmby that time. A little bit of a sneak attack there by Justin McKee as he was trying to shovel that ball backward style towards the Capital goal, but Palmby was having none of it. 2:10 remaining in our first half. Otterbein 5, Capital 4. Capital looking to make a defensive stop right here and then try to tie this game up before they head into halftime. Another nice save by Palmby. Another nice save by Palmby. Had to make two that time as the ball was loose momentarily. Now it's fed ahead to Danny Needham. Needham quickly up the field. Shot, no good. Ryan Rampy just left of the goal that time. Nice aggressive move, though, by Rampy. Capital still keeps possession. Is back out to Jeff Simmons. Simmons will now go almost to midfield, out to Barrett Noggle. Noggle, he's now rushing in. He's got a full head of steam. But Noggle will instead go behind the net. Circling, counterclockwise. Back out to Jordan Fuller. Fuller, spin move. Didn't have a lot of room to work with. Now back out to Barrett Noggle. Noggle near side of the field. Circling to his right. Noggle circles back. Now back to his right. Noggle behind the net. Got a minute remaining in the first half. Capital looking to tie this game. Shot on goal. And tripped up at the last moment was Jordan Fuller. Shot fended off by the Otterbein goalkeeper, James Gunling. 45 seconds and counting in the second quarter. Otterbein has the ball, sporting a 1-point lead over Capital, 5-4. Joe Sanfilippo. He is taking his dear sweet time. Otterbein, to use a basketball reference, holding for the last shot of the first half. Ian Mose. long hair and all. To the 20. Now they'll go behind the net. 7 seconds. 6 seconds. Otterbein has got to get a shot opportunity. Ball is now kicked around as it looked as though that Tate Stover was trying to kick it away. And now an Otterbein player is down on the field. The clock has run to zeros, so we should be heading to halftime. But meanwhile, there's a player down on the field for the Cardinals. And I think they're going to be putting some time back on this clock. Actually, no. That'll be the end of the first half. Both teams head to the locker room as they continue to tend to the injured player on the field. It's an Otterbein player. Can't really make out what his number is at the moment. Still a little bit of confusion. Capital heading to their to their locker room. Yep, and it is halftime. When we get updates on the hurt Lacrosse player, we will pass those along to you. But in the meantime, it is going to be Otterbein heading into the locker room, sporting a 5-4 lead over Capital. When we come back, we will get you updated with scores around the OAC and also get you set for what should be a very busy day and weekend as well in the world of sports. Again, it's a 5-4 lead for Capital at the half. It's a 5-4 lead for Otterbein over Capital at the half. This is your home for Capital Men's Lacrosse, the Capital Sports Network. It is halftime here at Bernlohr Stadium. Our score at the half is Otterbein 5, Capital 4. This is a presentation of men's lacrosse here on the Capital Sports Network. I'm Charlie Danes. We're so glad that we could have you along for the ride this afternoon. Speaking of scores, let's get you updated with some more action around the OAC right now. Oh boy, it's Baldwin Wallace all over Wilmington, 10-0 with 22 seconds to go in the first half of that game. Ohio Northern, they are sporting a rather sizable advantage as well as they lead Mount Union 10-4. About 8 seconds remain in the first half of that game. And then coming up later on today, Heidelberg will play host to Muskingum. That game is scheduled for a 4 o'clock start. As we mentioned during the pregame show, this is the beginning stages of the season, obviously. Baldwin-Wallace, Mount Union, John Carroll, and Otterbein, they're all 1-0 to begin conference play. Muskingum 0-1, Capital 0-1, Heidelberg 0-1, and Wilmington 0-1. Ohio Northern, they look to be well on their way today to their first win of conference play this afternoon. The team that has gone off to the most impressive start overall has been Baldwin-Wallace. They're 6-1. Mount Union is 5-2. Ohio Northern is 5-3. Everybody else is 3-3 or worse. There are a lot of teams that have struggled to come out of the gates here in the OAC, and Capital will look to get themselves out of that bunch. They are overall 2-4 on the year, 0-1 within conference play. Quick look at the stats from our first half. Capital out shooting Otterbein 24-18. 6 saves made for Otterbein as opposed to 3 for Capital. The ground balls favor Capital 15-10. Capital 5 of 10 on faceoffs. Otterbein likewise. Penalties, 3 of them have been on Capital for a total of 2.5 minutes. No penalties have been called on Otterbein as of yet. And both teams had 8 turnovers. In terms of goals and assists today, give a goal to Ryan Gambita for Otterbein. Also a goal and 2 assists for Jake Grundy. Grundy, by the way, was the Otterbein player that had gone down hard at the end of the first half. He was walking under his own power, so hopefully that young man is okay. A goal, by the way, in that first half for Connor Jevitz and Anthony Spingola, Chandler Swartz. They round out the scoring of that first half for Otterbein. Meanwhile, for Capital, Brennan O'Callahan has 2 goals on 4 shots today. And the other people getting on the board in terms of goals today, Ted Kreitz with only his 2nd goal of the season. Carson Paul with his 7th goal of the season in that first half of play. As we mentioned before we go to break, this is a big weekend when it comes to sports, not just here in the Capital community, but, of course, you have the Final Four going on the women's side. On the men's side, of course, the men's Final Four will be taking place tonight in Glendale, Arizona, right outside of the Phoenix area out there in Arizona. Cinderella Darling, South Carolina will be taking on Gonzaga. Both of those teams making their first appearances ever in the Final Four. The other half of the Final Four, at least on the men's side, will be Oregon and North Carolina. North Carolina, they're no stranger to the Final Four. They have made 20 Final Fours. That is the most of any program at the Division I level. Meanwhile, Oregon, they have made it to the Final Four for the first time since 1939 when they beat Ohio State, of all teams, in the national championship game. That was the very first year of the NCAA tournament. That game was played in, of all places, Evanston, Illinois. My, how times have changed, how you have gone from a small gym in Evanston, Illinois to a football field, essentially, the place where the Arizona Cardinals play. That is where this year's Final Four will be played, out there in Glendale, Arizona. Things have been interesting on the women's side of things as well when it comes to this year's Final Four. Of course, everybody, and I mean everybody's talking about that big upset win for Mississippi State over mighty UConn. Mississippi State taking down the mighty Huskies in overtime on that game on a last-second shot. So it'll be Mississippi State taking on South Carolina, who beat Stanford in the other semifinal game of the women's Final Four. That championship game will be taking place on Sunday night in Dallas. Should be a very fun matchup between both those teams that hail from the SEC. And finally, this will be the start of the long baseball season. At least tomorrow will be for a couple of teams. Of course, the season will officially get underway on Monday with all the other teams playing either that day or that night. Can't wait to see what this year's season will hold for us. Of course, last year, the Chicago Cubs, yes, the Cubbies, they won the World Series. It's still weird to say the Cubs are the defending World Series champions, but it's a brave new age for us baseball fans. Again, baseball season will be starting up tomorrow afternoon. with the rest of the games being played on Monday. And also, hey, you got the NBA playoffs and the Stanley Cup playoffs right around the corner. I like to think of this time as probably the most exciting time in sports, with the start of baseball season, with the playoffs of the NHL and the NBA right around the corner. This is a very, very fun time, and we're happy that you could join us here today for what should be a rather exciting season of Capital men's and women's lacrosse. The women's team has been doing pretty well as of late this year. Let's check out what has been happening with the women's lacrosse team while we have a moment. Women's team recently coming off of a win at Kenyon, 11-10. So it was a defensive nail-biter for the Crusaders that game. Leading the Crusaders in scoring that day was Kara Hines. How about this? 5 goals on the afternoon. Corey Titus also chipping in with 4 goals of her own. With the win, Capital was able to improve to 6-1 overall, 1-0 within conference play. Their only conference win coming at John Carroll. That was last Saturday, 19-13 win over the Blue Streaks. So let's see here. Their next game, the women's team, they'll be at Otterbein tomorrow afternoon at 1 o'clock. So they'll be making the trip up north to Westerville to take on the rival, the Cardinals. Meanwhile, our game getting set to begin here in the second half. We're mere moments away from the second half here at Bernlohr Stadium. Again, this is men's lacrosse here on the Capital Sports Network. I'm Charlie Danis. A cold, chilly day here in Bexley, Ohio. But again, I might sound like a broken record at this point. I'm just glad that there's no rain, that there's no snow. I'd rather have days like these where, yes, it is cloudy, but there aren't other elements that are getting in the way of the action here on the field. So now Capital, the men's team that is for lacrosse, they're going to have to get things going here a little bit. They got off to a very nice start in this game. They led 3-2 after the first quarter, but Otterbein was able to come back with a 3-1 second quarter. So who's now going to grab back that momentum? Is Capital going to be able to grab it back, or is Otterbein going to continue to build on that momentum and possibly build on this 1-goal lead? We will just have to see. 5-4 lead for Otterbein as we begin play here in the second half. The ball being placed at midfield. Whistle blows. Scrum for the ball. Popped up in the air. And Otterbein comes away with the ball. And is quickly tossed back to the goalkeeper, Connor Hinson. He'll be in goal for Otterbein to begin this second half of play. Cole Palmby, meanwhile, back in net for Capital. Otterbein making some substitutions now, as coming back to the game will be Ryan Gambita and Joe Sanfilippo. Capital back with possession. Looking to tie this game up here in the early stages of the second half. It is a 5-4 lead for Otterbein. Just underway here in the second half. Still got 14-15 remaining in our third quarter. Capital now taking a page out of Otterbein's book and being deliberate here offensively. It is swung around to Teddy Kreitz. Teddy with a goal in the first half of play. Now back out to Brent Walton. Walton back out to Kreitz. Walton and Kreitz have been longtime teammates here on this Capital squad. Kreitz will now swing it back to Walton. Walton surveys the field. Quick shot by Walton. And it's by everybody. Capital still maintaining possession, however. Alertly, Ryan Rampy was back there. Another opportunity for Capital. Trying to get it inside, and a goal for the Crusaders. We're knotted at 5. Oh, what terrific passing that time by Capital. It's the freshman phenom, C.J. Hughes. Freshman out of the Queen City of Cincinnati. Went to Walnut Hills High School back in his prep days. So now we're tied at 5, just like that. 13:27 remain in the third quarter. Nice start to the second half for Capital. Capital aiming for their first conference win of the season against their longtime rival, the Cardinals. After the scrum, they give it to Capital. So now let's see if Capital can keep this going. A rush to the middle. A little bit of a stutter step that time by Carson Paul. He has a goal in this game. A 5-5 game between Capital and Otterbein. Under 13 minutes to play in our third quarter. Walton. Looked like initially he had a lot of room to work with, but nice defensive closing by Logan Murphy. Kreitz passing it around. Now over to Hughes. Hughes over to Kreitz. Kreitz will now jog towards the back of the goal. Now a shot, and Capital regains the lead. Carson Paul with a rocket from the point. Carson Paul with his second goal of the afternoon and his 8th goal of the season. More importantly, it has given Capital the lead. 6-5, 12:23 left to play in the third quarter. A marvelous start to this second half for Capital. Trailing by 1, but now with 2 quick goals, they are up by 1. Ball awarded to Otterbein after the melee at midfield. So now the Cardinals, you have to think, are a little shell-shocked at this point, giving up those 2 quick goals to the Crusaders to begin second half play. What will their response be? Will it be the Cardinals squad in the first quarter that had trouble possessing the ball, or will it be the second quarter Cardinals squad that did a much better job of possessing the ball, getting shot opportunities, and more importantly, taking advantage of one-man advantages? There were a couple of penalties called against Capital in that second quarter of play that the Cardinals were able to capitalize upon. Penalties, turnovers. I know it's an old adage in all sports. If you keep penalties or fouls or mistakes down to a minimum, that vastly increases your chances of winning the game. And the same can be said about this contest. Whichever team is able to keep those emotions in check and is able to play to their strengths should be able to come out a victor in today's affair. Shot on goal just to the left of goal. Boy, Capital can breathe a deep sigh of relief right there as Palmby had his ticker awakened that time. I can't imagine what it is like to be a goaltender, whether it is hockey, whether it is lacrosse, whether it is soccer. I know my heart couldn't take it. So Otterbein still maintaining possession. Gambita, he's got a goal in this game. He'll feed it back out to the point. Now in the possession of Filippo, excuse me. Shot, this is going to be close, and they give it to Capital. Capital had 2 players racing back there to get possession. And boy, that was a dangerous pass right there, but Capital able to maintain possession. Nick Tholt, take it across midfield, young man. Tholt will now feed it back to Colin Troxel. He's a freshman midfielder out of Springboro, out of the Dayton area. Ball tipped up in the air. There's still a battle for it. Finally picked up by Otterbein. So that offensive opportunity for Capital will go by the wayside. Crusaders leading the Cardinals 6-5. 9:48 remain in the third quarter. Flip back now to Justin McKee. McKee waiting for some substitutes to come onto the field. Now the Cardinals will snap to attention. Mike Brendel. Now to about the 30. Brendel on the near side. Brendel will now go back out towards midfield. Now he will circle to his right. Hard shot. And a save made by the Capital goaltender Cole Palmby. Palmby has been doing his job today. He's keeping Capital in this game. He has allowed Capital to regain that momentum that they had temporarily lost towards the end of the first half. Shot and a save made. Both goaltenders bringing their A games here in this second half. As James Gunley said, anything you can do, I can do better. Cold day today here in Bexley, but as I look out at the crowd, good attendance here at Bernlohr Stadium. Fans have certainly shown up. The parking lot, I got here at about 11:15, and parking lot was already jam-packed outside of Bernlohr Stadium. So you know there are a lot of people here today. And a shot on goal. Capital increases their lead by 2. Colin Troxel loads up and gets it past the Otterbein goalkeeper, James Gunley. What a rocket shot that was. Oh, excuse me. Brennan O'Callahan was the one who scored that goal. My apologies. So it's O'Callahan that ends up scoring the goal for Capital. That is his third on the afternoon. And that brings his season total to 21. 7-5 lead for Capital. 8:14 left to play in the third quarter. And this will prove to be a critical juncture here for both Capital and Otterbein. We can clearly see that the momentum has shifted back to Capital. They've been getting some great goal opportunities. They've been able to take advantage of them, obviously. Otterbein, meanwhile, continues to wake up here, so to speak, coming out of the locker room of halftime. So either Otterbein is going to have to find a way here to battle back, or Capital can start to pull away here a little bit as we approach the middle stages here of our third quarter. 7:35 remain in the third quarter. It is Capital 7, Otterbein 5. Brennan O'Callahan has led the charge offensively with 3 goals on the afternoon for the Crusaders. Otterbein trying to whip it around. It's tipped up in the air. Very active stick that time by Capital defender Connor Ryan. Unfortunately for the Crusaders, Otterbein still maintaining possession after the tip. And a block shot. Either that went off the stick or the body of Christopher Yeager, sophomore out of Hilliard. Now Capital rushing forward. Quick shot! And Capital keeps the momentum going. C.J. Hughes. My, oh my. That was a lacrosse version of a fast break opportunity. Capital immediately goes on down the field, and Hughes is able to finish at the other end. So now an 8-5 lead for Capital, and now a timeout. Much needed timeout, I might add, for Otterbein taken. 6:54 remain in the third quarter. It's Capital 8, Otterbein 5. This is Crusaders men's lacrosse here on the Capital Sports Network. 6:54 remain in the third quarter. Capital 8, Otterbein 5. Speaking of scores, once again, we get you updated with scores around the OAC. They have gone to, let's see here, they've gone to the third quarter at Wilmington. Quakers have gone on the board, but they still trail Baldwin-Wallace 11-2 in that game. And the only other game in action other than ours and the affair between Wilmington and Baldwin-Wallace, it's Ohio Northern leading Mount Union 11-5, 6:16 left to play in the third quarter in that one. And by the way, coming up later on today at 4 o'clock to be more specific, Heidelberg playing host to the Muskies of Muskingum. This has been a tremendous third quarter for Capital. Crusaders have outshot Otterbein for the game 30-23. Ground balls 16-14 in favor of Capital. But I think more importantly for the Crusaders, especially during this half, they've cut down on the penalties. 3 penalties were called against Capital for a grand total of 2.5 minutes. And Otterbein was able to take advantage with a couple of goals on those odd man advantages. Well, Capital has certainly brought their A game here in the second half. They have outscored Otterbein 4-0 here in the third quarter. That's what you like to see if you are Capital head coach Don Marzano coming out of the locker room. Must have given him the Newt Rockney treatment. Shot on goal. Oh, that might have been off the post that time. As Otterbein was trying to make a bid to get a score and possibly quell this great momentum that Capital has built upon here in the second half. Sometimes if you're a goalkeeper, it is better to be lucky than to be good, and that was the case with Palmby. A rush towards the goal by Ian Mose. Mose trying to fight his way through Capital traffic. The Crusaders are not giving him an inch. Mose still running around. Oh, what a save by Palmby. And a flag is going to be thrown. Sanfilippo with the ball. This will be a delayed penalty, I would suspect, against Capital. 8-5 lead for the Crusaders. 5:05 remaining in the third quarter. Shot saved by Palmby. Now here's the whistle. Let's see what the penalty is going to be. So one of our officials will head to the table, or head close to the table. Otterbein with a man up, so the penalty win against Capital. There were a couple times in that first half where Otterbein was able to take advantage of these opportunities. Capital trying to keep this momentum going. It'd be huge for this team, who had a very rough March to begin the month of April with a big win here. That is fended off by Palmby. The rocket was loaded and ready to go for Nick Tholt, apparently. Holy moly. Otterbein will now work it along the perimeter. They got Nick Tholt trying to work in the middle. Palmby able to fend off that shot. Four and a half to play in our third quarter. Capital 8, Otterbein 5. Loose ball. Otterbein still able to maintain it. It's back at the top of the point. Sanfilippo feeds it inside, and Palmby makes the save. Nice job by Cole Palmby. So now Palmby will get it out to Adam Grumman. As now Capital will just work its way up the field, trying to get it across the midfield stripe and then let their offense go to work. A hit over the middle to Tate Stover. And now a flag has been thrown out towards the 45-yard line. Looks like the penalty will be going against Otterbein. There'll be a conference between both of our referees. 3:46 remain in the third quarter. Capital 8, Otterbein 5. Looks like the penalty will go against Joe Sanfilippo. So now Capital with a one-man advantage here. Carson Paul out there with Brent Walton, also working with Ryan Rampy. Back up top, swung around, and the shot by C.J. Hughes, no good. Ground ball collected by Otterbein. It's flicked to the near side now. Long pass over the middle, and it hits a streaking Logan Murphy in stride. Murphy, now a quick toss, and oh, it goes off the stick of Grant Simmons. Boy, Otterbein looked to have things cooking there on the fast break, but Simmons took his eye off the ball, and now Capital will get it back here. Crusaders might have caught a break right there. 2:48 left to play in the third quarter. Capital sporting an 8-5 lead over their longtime rival, the Otterbein Cardinals. Capital looking for their first conference win of the 2017 campaign. They lost to John Carroll last Saturday. 9-8 win for the Blue Streaks. Capital was down by as much as 3 goals in that game with a little over 6 minutes to play in regulation. Rallied for 3 goals, but came up just short against John Carroll, the defending OAC champions. But the way they've been playing so far today, particularly in this third quarter, they look to be in pretty good shape. Walton momentarily loses it, picks it back up, trying to bull his way to the goal. His shot is to the left. Now there's a scrum for the ground ball. And Capital gets back possession. No, they do not. It's still loose. Finally scooped up by Capital. Shot on goal. Saved made. Boy, a lot of frantic moments here, as Gunling was able to make the save for Otterbein. .142 left to play in the third quarter. Capital 8, Otterbein 5. Cardinals now looking to go on the offensive attack. Fed over the middle. Into Capital territory goes Otterbein. Justin McKee, freshman out of Delaware, Ohio. Receiving the pass. Now he'll check out. Coming back in for Otterbein will be Ian Mose. With the substitutions done, Otterbein now looking to get something going here. 55 seconds and counting in the third quarter. Capital 8, Otterbein 5. Palmby with another fantastic save. Oh, boy. Cole Palmby is showing out here in the third quarter. Up ahead. Now it's a loose ground ball, but it's gathered up by Mike Trefethern. C.J. Hughes. Now they'll go behind the net. Capital looking for a last-second shot here to end what has been a very productive third quarter. Jordan Fuller, shot wide of the net. It'll maintain, possession will be maintained by Capital. 12.3 seconds remain in the third quarter. Capital looking for a quick hitter here. Shot, no good. Save is made by Gunling. Gunling will whip it ahead really quick to a teammate. And the shot is wide right of the net. That'll do it for the third quarter. Capital with a very productive third quarter. 4 goals to be specific. It's Capital 8, Otterbein 5 as we head to the fourth quarter here at Bernlohr Stadium. You are listening to Capital Men's Lacrosse here on the Capital Sports Network. Welcome back to Bernlohr Stadium. Fourth quarter getting set to begin here in Bexley. Capital 8, Otterbein 5. A tremendous third quarter by the Crusaders. 4 goals in all. They outscore Otterbein 4-0 in that third quarter. They're looking to parlay that momentum here into the fourth quarter and close in on their first conference win of the 2017 season against their biggest rival, no less, Otterbein. Capital will begin the fourth quarter with possession of the ball. Ryan Rampy. He'll go behind the net. Circling in a counterclockwise formation. Now in the possession of McCormick. Carter McCormick over to Walton. Walton trying to let loose a shot, but that hit somebody's body. Now there's a loose ground ball. And collecting it, not Capital. It's going to be Otterbein. Cardinals with a fast break opportunity. And boy, oh boy, I'm really surprised that Chandler Swartz didn't offer at the goal once he got the ball. Instead, he just passed it back out. Swartz was just a couple feet away from Capital goalkeeper Cole Palmby. That would have been a point-blank shot right there, but I guess he thought otherwise. In any case, Capital still leading Otterbein 8-5, 13.5 to play in the fourth quarter. Capital pretty much used to playing these low-scoring affairs. The highest goal total that Capital has accumulated, this was very early on in the season, by the way, had 21 against Olivet, had 22 against Obem. And lately, let's see here, 8 against Huntington College, 11 against Worcester, only 5 against Wittenberg. That was a 13-5 loss to the Tigers. And 8 in that most recent loss to John Carroll last Saturday. Otterbein, boy, being really sloppy with the ball this particular possession as Brendel scoops up the loose ground ball. Sanfilippo. Trying to speed around, now over to Gambita. And Capital able to pluck a ball out of the air. Boy, Palmby has been very, very solid in goal this second half for Capital. Quick shot, no good. Shot attempt by Brennan O'Callahan, who already has a hat trick today with 3 goals. That's his 7th shot of the day, O'Callahan. 11:50 remain in the fourth quarter. Capital looking to add to their 8-5 lead over Otterbein. Hopefully on these offensive possessions, Capital gets the feeling of closing time here against Otterbein. Looking to close out the Cardinals, pick up that first conference win. Walton will fight his way through for a goal. How about the moves by Brent Walton? Man, oh man, he would not be denied that time. Good job by Brent Walton. Walton with his 9th goal of the year. Also got 7 assists on the season. 9-5 now in favor of Capital. 11:33 left to play in the fourth quarter. Boy, I tell you what, Walton just doing a great job of penetrating that Otterbein defense and getting a good shot off, getting a goal. So now it's Otterbein's turn to try to mount a response here. Although Capital's defense as of late has been very stingy. Crusaders looking to keep that going. Sanfilippo behind the net. Now they will go back out to the point. And Ian Mouse, excuse me. Mouse trying to find some room. Boy, got sandwiched between two Capital defenders. Still tried to fight his way. Shot went right of the goal as Palmby was trying to make a save on it. And a flag has now been thrown at the 40. Penalty will go against Capital. So now Otterbein will have a man advantage here. 10:47 remain in the fourth quarter. Capital 9, Otterbein 5. 3 goals on the afternoon for Brennan O'Callahan. 2 goals on the afternoon for C.J. Hughes. The latest goal for Capital coming from Brent Walton. Sanfilippo in the middle. Meanwhile, ball out on the perimeter. Folt. Gambita. Now it's back to Gambita. Folt circles to his left. Ball being circled around. In the possession of Spingola. Under 10 minutes to play in the fourth quarter. Capital 9, Otterbein 5. Make it a 9-6 game. Nick Tholt, the senior, out of Hilliard, Ohio. Former Davidson Wildcat. Draws Otterbein to within 3 of Capital. $9:55 remaining in the fourth quarter. This game is not over just yet. Still a comfortable lead for Capital. 9-6 over Otterbein, but it's now up to the Crusaders to finish the Cardinals off. And that won't help right there as Otterbein immediately gets the ball. Quick shot off the body of Christopher Yeager. Yeager's been very active defensively for Capital. Shot. Palmby able to somehow fend off that ball. It was a hard grounder, and they're going to give it to Capital, much to the chagrin of Otterbein head coach Colin Hartnett. Raised his hands in disgust, and he's giving an earful to one of our officials right now. So now Capital back with it. Well, if you're Capital right here, you got a 3-goal lead. You've had success offensively today. No need to hurry things around. You can try to run some clock here as you try to find the best available shot offensively. 9 minutes to play in the fourth quarter. Capital 9, Otterbein 6. Otterbein already 1-0 in conference play. Capital, meanwhile, 0-1. This would be a big win for Capital from a confidence standpoint. As I mentioned, they went 0-4 within the month of March. Looking to start off the month of April in grand fashion. Shot. It's fended away. Now another shot. Oh, boy, a couple of nice saves that time by James Gunling. But Capital gets back possession. .8:25 left to play in regulation. Capital 9, Otterbein 6. Capital trying to create some spacing here offensively, while at the same time trying to run a little bit of clock. They know the scoreboard is on their side. They know that the clock is on their side as well. Turnover for Capital, however, that's not going to help matters as Walton lost it. And now Otterbein quickly up the field. Logan Murphy still up the middle. Gives it off. Palmby able to fend that shot away after a shot attempt by Nick Hassinger. Cardinals still maintain possession, however. Time is of the essence here for Otterbein. Sanfilippo with the shot. And it's over everybody's head. Otterbein looking for another crack at it. Nick Tholt behind the Capital net. Going to his left. Now he'll give off to Otterbein's Connor McKenzie, it looked like. They'll go out of bounds, and they're going to give it to Capital. So now Capital back with possession. 7:14 remain in the fourth quarter. Capital 9, Otterbein 6. A loose ball. It's collected by Otterbein, but then a whistle and a flag thrown up in the air. Looks like Capital will have an odd man advantage. And this could prove to be the dagger right here for Capital if you really think about it. Let's see if Capital can possibly put the final nail in the coffin here by coming away with a score here on the man-up advantage. They'll begin on the perimeter. Brent Walton passing it along the near side, now handling it. Walton still at the top of the field. Brennan O'Callahan also out there. He's got a hat trick already with 3 goals. Teddy Kreitz. He'll go behind the Otterbein net as everybody tries to get set up in front. Shot and a score! C.J. Hughes. Now he's got a hat trick. 3 goals on the afternoon for the talented freshman. Big goal right there for Capital as they up their lead to 4. 10-6 over Otterbein. 6:34 left to play in the fourth quarter. So now they will place the ball at midfield. Got to be feeling good if you're Capital right now. 4-goal lead with 6.5 to play in regulation. Capital just needs to play smart defensively. More importantly, Take care of the ball. Don't give Otterbein an opportunity to get right back into this game and make it a little more interesting on the latter stages of the fourth quarter. That's a good start. Capital with possession. Oh, Simmons momentarily lost it. Still doesn't have it. Now he's able to calm himself down. Nice recovery by Jeff Simmons. Simmons, by the way, still with the ball, out towards the 30. So now Capital can play a good old-fashioned game of hot potato right here as they just try to pass the ball along the perimeter, try to run more of that clock down. They're the ones that got the 4-goal lead over Otterbein, 10-6 with 5:45 left to play in regulation. Simmons on the far side, trying to race on in, but does a smart play and just tucks it behind the net. Over to C.J. Hughes. Barrett Noggle to Hughes. Hughes will now go back behind to Ryan Rampy. Rampy over to Jeff Simmons. Now it's over to Barrett Noggle. Noggle knocks it through. Barrett Noggle, the sophomore out of Champion, Pennsylvania. Boy, what a rocket shot by Noggle that time. The sophomore out of Pennsylvania increases Capital's lead to 11-6. 5:08 left to play in the fourth quarter. And boy, if that isn't the final nail in the coffin, it's pretty doggone close. Otterbein is now going to have to really hurry it up here and try to create some offensive opportunities just to make this game at the very least interesting. But a great job by Capital. They have been able to successfully carry over that momentum that they built in the third quarter, in which they outscored Otterbein 4-0. And so far they have outscored Otterbein in this fourth quarter 3-1. It's fed ahead now. And now Capital can run some more clock after the turnover by Otterbein. Gotta say, I've been impressed with Capital's offense, but I've also been impressed with Capital's defense. Looked a little shaky there towards the end of the first half. But in this second half of play, only one goal's been given up. They've looked much more sharper. Otterbein has not felt as comfortable offensively as they did towards the end of the first half, and that has proven to be the difference in this game. Walton over the Kreitz. Shot. A save is made. That was a fantastic save made by James Gunling. So now Otterbein back with possession under 4 minutes to play. Capital 11, Otterbein 6. Loose ground ball. Who's going to pick it up? Now we have a whistle. Who are they going to give it to? They're going to give it to Otterbein. .353 left to play in the fourth quarter. Capital 11, Otterbein 6. Back out to the point to Mike Brendel. Brendel on the near side. A run to the far side now as Otterbein's looking for some needed rotation. Shot wide of the net. And it's going to be given to Otterbein. 3:16 remain in the fourth quarter. Capital 11, Otterbein 6. Capital has outshot Otterbein today 45-38. Back out in front. Sanfilippo. Now they'll go behind the net. Now a loose ball. Sanfilippo will pick it up after losing it initially was Connor Jevitt. Now Capital picks it up. Approaching 2.5 to play in the fourth quarter. Capital 11, Otterbein 6. And now a timeout's going to be taken by Capital. We'll step aside as well. 2:28 remaining in the fourth quarter. Capital 11, Otterbein 6. This is Crusaders Men's Lacrosse here on the Capital Sports Network. .228 remaining in the fourth quarter. Capital in good shape, leading Otterbein 11-6. Capital just trying to look to put the finishing touches on what would be their first conference win of the 2017 season. They fell to John Carroll 9-8 last Saturday. I would say this would be a very good bounce-back win for Capital. Nice way to start the month of April after what turned out to be a very rough month of March. But first, there's still some lacrosse left to be played here. Capital with possession, and they're just going to look to try to run some clock here. Ryan Rampy. He thought about a shot, but now he'll just scurry around a little bit more. O'Callahan. Now in the possession of Ryan Rampy. Rampy. He's just running around now. He'll toss it back out towards midfield. In the possession of Carson Paul. Paul running towards the near side. Minute 45 remaining in the fourth quarter. Capital 11. Otterbein 6. Shot and another goal for Capital. What an afternoon it's been for C.J. Hughes. Boy, no wonder everybody's been talking about this kid. Just a freshman out of Cincinnati. And if my math's correct here, it looks like that'll be his fourth goal of the afternoon. And it is. Hughes has had 12 shots today, and 4 of them have resulted in goals. How about that? And also a hat trick from Brandon O'Callahan. 3 goals on 8 shots today for the dynamic offensive threat of Capital, that being Brandon O'Callahan. I'll tell you what, they want to find themselves a dynamic duo with O'Callahan and C.J. Hughes out there. Minute and a half remaining in the fourth quarter. It's now Capital 12, Otterbein 6. And assuming that we don't have a miracle finish involving the Cardinals, this will be a much-needed win for the Crusaders. Always good to get a win over the rival, that being the Cardinals, who will drop to 1-1 within conference play. Meanwhile, Capital will improve to 1-1 within conference play. Still a lot of lacrosse left to be played here, as we are just beginning the month of April. 1 minute now remaining as the ball headed almost out of bounds. Otterbein will maintain possession here. This will be an excellent win for Capital to build upon. Shot, save made. And it's Cole Palmby. Boy, you know, we talk about the offensive production that we saw today for Capital, but how about the job done by Cole Palmby? Palmby almost allowed an easy goal right there, but luckily for him, it's cleaned up by Ryan Maloney. 35 seconds and counting. Palmby will feed it ahead to a teammate. Now it's back to Palmby. Palmby just playing a little hot potato with Sawyer Mack. Capital gets it across midfield. 15 seconds and counting. After a rough month of March, Capital begins on the right foot here in the month of April. The Crusaders end up getting a big win over their rivals, the Otterbein Cardinals. Your final from Bernlohr Stadium, Capital 12, Otterbein 6. We'll be back in just a moment to wrap things up here in Bexley. Again, it is Capital who triumphs over Otterbein by a final of 12-6. You have been listening to a presentation of Capital Men's Lacrosse here on the Capital Sports Network. Welcome back to Bernlohr Stadium. A happy result to report to you from Bexley as Capital doubles up Otterbein today by a final of 12-6. I'm Charlie Danis. Let's now go over the stats, what happened in this game scoring-wise, and all that other minutia. First, let's start with the scoring summary. Capital was able to get on the board first thanks to a goal by Carson Paul. That was later followed up with a goal by Brennan O'Callahan. His 19th of the year came with 7:23 remaining in the first quarter. That gave Capital a 2-0 lead. Otterbein was able to finally get on the board thanks to a goal by Ryan Gambita. That came with 5:51 remaining in the first quarter. Capital responded with a goal by Ted Kreitz, his second of the season, with 1:03 remaining. And then Otterbein capped off the scoring in the first quarter with a goal by Chandler Swartz. In the second quarter, it was decidedly Otterbein. After another goal by Brennan O'Callahan, Otterbein got 3 straight goals, one by their leading scorer, that'd be Connor Jevitt. Also one by Anthony Spingola, and another one by Jake Grundy. That gave the Cardinals a 5-4 lead heading into the half. But after that, it was pretty much all Capital. Goals in the third quarter by C.J. Hughes, Carson Paul, Brennan O'Callahan. Another goal by C.J. Hughes as well in the third quarter, so he had 2 during that quarter. Otterbein did get a goal by Nick Tholt, but in the fourth quarter, Brent Walton got on the board, C.J. Hughes with another one, Barrett Noggle, and finally C.J. Hughes capping off what turned out to be an impressive day for the freshman. Hughes with 4 goals on 12 shot attempts on the day, as Capital's now coming up and greeting the fans. Great sight to see. Overall team stats today. Capital outshoots Otterbein 46-41. 13 saves made by the Otterbein goalkeeper James Gunling. 8 saves made by Capital goalkeeper Cole Palmby. 26 ground balls for Capital, 24 for Otterbein. In terms of face-offs today, Capital 10 of 21. Otterbein 11 of 21. Clears, Otterbein 13 of 13, Capital 14 of 16. The penalties, 6 on Capital for a grand total of 4.5 minutes. 2 on Otterbein for a grand total of 1.5 minutes. 11 turnovers for Capital and 12 turnovers for Otterbein. Some individual standouts today for both teams. First for Otterbein, Ryan Gambita with a goal and 2 assists. Also a goal and 2 assists for Jake Grundy. Nick Tholt, as I mentioned, had a goal today, as did Connor Zevitt. 1 goal for Anthony Spingola and 1 goal for Chandler Swartz. On the other side, a hat trick for Brennan O'Callahan. 3 goals on 8 shots. 4 goals on 12 shots for the freshman sensation C.J. Hughes. 3 assists for Ryan Rampy. Also an assist each for Brent Walton and Michael Trefethern. Brent Walton, by the way, also with the goal today. And a goal and 2 assists for Ted Kreitz. 2 goals and assists for Carson Paul. So with the win today, Capital able to improve to overall, but more importantly pick up that first win of the conference season. They're now 1-1 with an 0. Meanwhile, for Otterbein, they dropped to 3-7 overall and 1-1 within OAC play. Let's take a look at the upcoming schedule now for Capital. After today's win, they will be back at it on at Mount St. Joseph. That game is scheduled for a 4 o'clock start. They'll follow that game up with another road contest at Baldwin-Wallace. That is scheduled for a 1 o'clock start next Saturday. Our next broadcast of Capital Men's Lacrosse will be, let's see here, not this Wednesday, but the following Wednesday, April the 12th. They'll be playing host to the Muskies of Muskingum. That game is set to begin at 7 o'clock. We will get things started with the Crusaders pregame show beginning at about 6:45 p.m. My good friend Jimmy Bloomfield will be bringing you the action for that particular contest. This is Charlie Danis saying one final time, the final score today from Bernlohr Stadium, Capital 12, Otterbein 6. We hope that you have enjoyed this presentation of men's lacrosse here on the Capital Sports Network. Until next time, everybody, so long from Bexley, Ohio.